Hi guys, Piotr here, this is LiteFinance global YouTube channel, and it's my pleasure to be with you today, and we are going to discuss the scalping strategy I'm using from time to time, especially when I do have a time to take the seat and to trade the whole London or New York session. As you know, I'm trading without any indicators, so I'm going to share with you what I'm looking for, how I'm going to approach the London and New York session, and hopefully it's gonna be useful. You are going to find something very, very useful for yourself to add to your trading arsenal. All right, so overall, guys, we are going to look for three things. All right, either we are going to look for the range market, and we are going to discuss the possibility to fade the attempt to break to the downside the range, or fade attempt to break to the upside when it comes to the range trading. Then we are going to discuss how I'm approaching the market if we have, for example, the uptrend. Then also from the smaller time frame perspective, I'm going to look for some kind of the consolidation, and I'm going to look for the failure at the bottom, trying to scalp long side. And of course, gonna be similar to the opposite when it comes to the downtrend. I'm looking on smaller time frames, looking for some kind of the consolidation, maybe checking the Asian hours, and then trying to fade the failure when it comes to the attempt to break higher, and I'm trying to trade the short side. So let's have a look the euro dollar chart here, and that's the hourly chart. And guys, no doubt about it, taking into the consideration everything we see here, right? We are in a downtrend. Lately, it might looks like we do have some kind of the consolidation going on, right? But to be honest with you, if you are going to compare that we are making lower highs and lower lows, so that might be the consolidation ahead of the further breakdown, all right? So for me, rather here, for a quite long time, since the beginning of the July, is still looking to fade intraday rallies, to try to fade intraday rallies, but also trying to compare what I have from the higher time frame perspective. So what we have on the chart, I prepared myself before I started recording. We have those lines over here. They're representing the daily open on the chart, right? So I'm looking, preparing myself to the day trading. I'm looking for the previous price action and checking what has happened. So we already agreed that euro dollar is either going down or trying to range a little bit. So my way of thinking is trying to sell, trying to scalp short side. So let's move a little bit before we are going to go to a little bit lower levels. Let's place few important lines from my perspective. So the first one is going to be the representation of what we've seen here when it comes to the most possible touches on the chart, right? So I know that if we are going to at some point, if we are going to retest these levels like what we've seen here, then that's gonna be my possible supply level number one, right? So let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. And let's maybe change the color. All right, where is the next when we were going lower in comparison where we are, right? What's the next important levels for myself? Well, look at these levels over here. All right, so I do know where is my next line. So let's have a look what we have. All right, and that was quite good, especially when it comes to last week trading on the euro dollar after the breakdown and on the retest as well, right? And what next to the downside? Next important levels, all right? So we know that that's my next important line should be over here. All right, so let's switch lower. Let's switch to the 15-minute chart, and as I mentioned, what I'm looking for for the possibility to fade. What I'm looking for is some kind of the attempt to break of the any kind of the consolidation or failure in relation to the Asian hours. All right, so in that case, I have to show you here on the 15-minute chart what we are going to discuss based on what has happened within the last trading day, last Friday on the euro dollar, and we are going to try to check on the smaller time frame if there was an opportunity to try to go the short side. So that was my consolidation I would look for as a selling opportunity, and I would look for 50%, and I would look for the stop count and fading above this consolidation. So in other words, I would look for 1 minute chart, what is going on here, right, on the 50% of that box, and then if I would look for another position, I would look some failure at the top of that consolidation if I would see the rally, because you know when the day begins, right, the chart looks like this, right? But I know in advance where I'm going to try to prepare and attack when it comes to the short side. So in that case, let's switch lower and let's check what we've seen when it comes to the beginning of the London session, and if there was a possibility to eventually try to trade the euro dollar based on what we have when it comes to some kind of the consolidation, and trying to have a possibility eventually to scalp the chart. All right, so let's check, let's place the line to have on the 1 minute chart to have a possibility to start with, and let's get back to 1 minute chart. All right, so that's our Asian hours over here. That's Asian hours over here, with the attempt to go lower, some kind of a violation to the downside, and the failure, right? Don't forget, guys, that the supply we have here, and that's the 50% of the possible consolidation over here. So my preparation, as I mentioned, we are preparing ourselves to try to go to the downside. All right. So what I'm looking for is market attempt to either retest 50% of the earlier mentioned consolidation. It's somewhere here during the London or New York session, or retest of the supply from the higher time frame. All right, and we are here on the 1 minute chart. So the first thing first, after or around the London Open, right, we already tested the 50% here. All right, then we broke through the trend line, and what has happened, it was nothing else like the double top over here during the European hours. So we've seen the retest of that level. Now, I would prefer, to be honest with you, I would prefer to see here a little bit higher shadow. So then I would knew that, okay, that was the stop count. Market was looking for liquidity, and we are good to go. With a little bit riskier approach, you were able to trade. You were able to trade this one, right, based on double top formation after the close of that particular candle with the shadow below the higher point of the previous candle. So it was a little bit riskier approach based on the 1 minute possible swing trade with the stops 2 pips above, and trying to trade where? Trying to trade the mid of the Tokyo session, all right? So in that case, the mid of the Tokyo session was somewhere here. So the first move, if you took the risk part with this type of the stop, so especially check how this approach allow me to trade bigger risk reward ratio. So in other words, I might be more often wrong, but with very tight stop, I don't need plenty of good trades to be still on a positive side. So this trade was good. There was a possibility eventually to try to approach when there was this type of the trade over here, as you can see. So some kind of the stop count with Riley again above the daily open. All right. So it was possibility to look for another opportunity to trade that particular zone when it comes to this possible supply. All right. It was possible to have either to wait for the stop count this time, but there was possible triple top setup, right? So in that case here, in that particular trade, I would be stopped out, all right? But it would be very, very tiny, so this previous trade would still keep me in the positive side. Now, there was a stop count with the very risky approach, this engulf over here. It was a possibility to immediately try to trade this supply. Remember, this is the supply we discussed on the higher time frame, right? That would be the very risky approach, right? A very aggressive approach. On the other hand, as I mentioned, I'm looking for some kind of the consolidations, and here we got some kind of the confirmation that, okay, market is respecting this supply. So what we are looking for? We are looking for this consolidation to be retested like 50%. And that's what happened. So guys, do your own research, do your own homework. As I mentioned, look for important levels from the higher time frame. Execution is on a 1 minute chart, just to have the very tight stop and bigger risk reward ratio in your favor. Also, as we discussed, based on this particular euro dollar chart, it was either looking for a short position based on what we have on the move to the downside on euro dollar. There was an attempt to consolidate a bit, but with higher highs and lower lows. So I've been looking only to trade the short side at the particular levels. With that being said, guys, please leave the comments below if you like it, and please ask the question as well. Use this comment section below if you need additional information. With that being said, guys, wish you great trading experience. See you around. Take care and goodbye.